Welcome to Whiskey's a Journey. My name's Peter Fasciano. Today's Wednesday. I have a whiskey review coming at you. Today, we're looking at Rebel 10, a Kentucky straight bourbon, a single barrel. Just like always, we're going to pour it, nose it, taste it, talk about it a little bit. And then if you stick around until the very end, I'm going to give this a score. So what do we have here? We've got Rebel 10 coming at 50% ABV. And for those of you who need to know, since this is a single barrel, my barrel number is 6708821. And it was filled on 3/20 of 2014. It's Kentucky straight bourbon, but it is a wheated mash bill. And that wheated mash bill is undisclosed. It is distilled and aged in Kentucky, but it is bottled by the Lux Row Distillers. So it's sourced. And I'll get into that in a little bit once I get into the history of it. It's a 750 milliliter bottle. And when I purchased this, which was I think about 3 months ago by the time this video airs, it was $76.99. Even before I get this up to my nose, it is jumping out of the glass with a very strong butterscotch note. But let's get it a little closer and see what else I can get. And I'll tell you what, with the 100 proof, it's stinging the nose just a little bit. Maybe the glass was capturing a little bit of the vapors. But yeah, it smells a little hotter than 100 proof. Along with the butterscotch note, there is also a slight cherry note that kind of just enhances everything. So with butterscotch and the cherry note, this is going to be candy sweet, borderline sugary. I don't think this quite reaches the point where it's just straight up sugar, but the butterscotch and the cherry note is really nice. Slight amount of spice, Christmas spice, and I would say a buttered roll. So on the nose, I think this is really nice. It's nice and soft. It seems to be pretty balanced. Let's go ahead and get another palate. Tell you what I think. Cheers, everybody. So this might be a contradiction, but it hits the palate pretty soft with a lot of intense flavors. The butterscotch, the cherry, that buttered roll, the cinnamon spice or the Christmas spices are washing over the tongue. There's a good amount of oak that's settling in. My mouth is just watering like crazy. That first sip was really good. As much as the ABV burned on the nose, I'm not getting an overabundance of ethanol on the palate. Very well rounded, very easy to sip, nice and light on the palate with really good intense notes. I think all of those standard bourbon notes are there, the caramel, the vanilla, and the brown sugar, but accompanying that butterscotch note just adds a nice thick layer on the tongue. And then the oak, that 10 years of age, is enhanced by a little bit of a barrel bitterness or tannin on the side. Those cinnamon spices ramp up mid-palate and then fade away into the background. Yeah, I would say this is a pretty dangerous sipping whiskey. It's not overpowering with the ABV, which makes it a little bit easier to go down. And with all of the good balance of sweet and spice, makes this a good balanced, easy to sip pour. That first sip was really good. Let me go ahead and get a second sip in, add some water, and then talk a little bit about Rebel 10 year. All right, second sip. Yeah, that's really nice. I like how it hits the palate pretty soft, but then before you know it, all of those intense flavors ramp up. I'm not getting anything different from the first to second sip. Everything that I've got is pretty much the same, with the exception of that second sip. There's always seems to be an extra oak presence. And just like sips in the past, this is following along the same line. Now, overall, I don't think much has changed, but I like it quite a bit. Butterscotch, Christmas spice, oak, a little bit of cherry, caramel, vanilla, brown sugar, a little bit of a buttered roll as well. Yeah, everything is working rather nice in this glass. All right, so the history of this, please let me know in the comments down below if I got my dates correct, if I got all of my names correct. I'm not an expert on this, but when I looked at the label, I saw original recipe since 1849. And then as I started to dig into this a little bit, Rebel Yell, which it was once called Rebel Yell, wasn't around at that time. So I was wondering where that date came from. But apparently in 1849, the W.L. Weller and Sons Company had this mash bill, this wheated mash bill. And then in 1910, W.L. Weller ended up merging or combining with Stitzel Distilling Company, creating the Stitzel Weller Corporation, or the Stitzel Weller Distilling Company. And I guess everything was okay for a while. And then in the 1940s, the Rebel Yell brand arose. And then you can jump ahead until 1972 when the Stitzel Weller Corporation broke up. And then in the 1980s, Rebel Yell brand was bought by David Sherman Corporation, apparently in St. Louis. And did they rename the brand or the distillery to the new Luxco distillery? And if I'm not mistaken, 2021 MGP bought it, and then they eventually changed the name from Rebel Yell to Rebel and changed the distillery to Luxco Distillery. I hope all that information is correct. So if you're looking at the date on the very front, apparently I don't think it has anything to do with the distillery. It has everything to do with the mash bill that they've used. So original recipe, original mash bill, 1849. All right, so Luxco itself, when it was Luxco, they first released the Rebel Yell 10 in 2016. Somewhere along the lines, I think Heaven Hill was being used as the distillate. So I'm guessing they're still sourcing their stuff from Heaven Hill. I'm not exactly positive. If you know anything different, let me know in the comments down below. And if you have anything else to add or any corrections to make, please post them and be kind in the comments down below. So before I get into this with the water, if you can do me a favor, if you've gotten this far and you like what I'm doing, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, turn that bell notification on because I produce videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in addition to that, I also have an August giveaway happening on the channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel, all of the rules to the giveaway are in the description. Please read through those. And let's get on to see what the water has done to this, either good or bad. Yeah, still a tremendous amount of butterscotch. I would even say that the butterscotch note is even more prominent with the water. The spice notes are completely gone. The cherry note is completely gone. I'm no longer getting like a buttered rolled note. It is all just straight up butterscotch. So let's go ahead and get it on the palate and see if anything changed there. All right, here we go. The cherry note is still on the palate with the water. That butterscotch note is now taking a little bit of a back seat on the palate because it was really dominant on the nose, but with the water, it kind of hides it. I also think there's a little bit more of a, like an oaky spice note with the water, but things are not really developing from the arrival to the mid palate to the finish with the water. It has leveled everything out. It's not as robust. And I think I like all of the nuances of this without the water. Going forward, I will definitely be not putting water in this. So I guess the only thing left to do is give this a score. If you're new here, I score everything out of 5 stars. I'm going to be giving this score based on without the water. I really do like how everything comes together. There is a vibrancy to the nose, and that vibrancy also translates to the palate. This is an explosion of flavor without being too overly proofed up. 50% ABV, I would consider to be maybe on the lower end, and I didn't expect this much flavor coming out of something that is 50% ABV. The buttered roll, the spices, the oak, the tannin, all of those traditional bourbon notes, the brown sugar, caramel, and vanilla, all of those things come together to create what I think is a very cohesive, well put together bourbon. So out of 5 stars, I'm going to give this a 3.95. Going into this, I didn't expect that much out of it, but it has truly surprised me. Please let me know in the comments down below if you are familiar with the Rebel Yell or the Rebel products. If you've had the 10-year, what do you think of it? Do you see these in your area? Are they sitting on the shelves? And what are you paying for them? All right, that's all I have for you today. So wherever you are at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it, and we'll talk to everybody later. Bye.